What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Christmas Special. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Now, we are joined by a whole star cast, but we've got a Christmas present to open, so I'm going to do that first and foremost and see exactly what my wife's got me for Christmas. So let's see what we've got. Oh, it's a Star Wars Lego set, isn't that generous? That's wonderful. Brilliant stuff. So happy Christmas to everybody who's tuning in on Christmas Day, and we're going to say a huge warm welcome to all of us who've joined us in the Discord and G+ panels on, well, technically not Christmas Day as this is being pre-recorded, but happy Christmas one and all.
Ho, 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 ho. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Flatness.
Merry Flatness. We'll do some... and a happy Hanukkah.
No, let's not get him into that.
Let's do some...
Christmas poo. Come on.
Let's not talk about Christmas poo. We're going to do some Christmas housekeeping, though. Any signs of Christmas Earth curvature?
Not from the North Pole.
Not from the top of the Eiffel Tower.
There might be some glows.
No? Santa not dropping as he traverses to deliver all the presents last night? Come on, someone's got to be able to spin that into an anti-globe proof, right? No drop for Santa Claus?
Well, the problem is that Coriolis just kind of throws them off.
Oh, we'll come to
Barika, you beat me to it, man.
Wait, now I get it. The spin of the Earth actually allows Santa to traverse the entire world really easy. You just have to go up. I get it now.
No, that's why Rudolph has the red nose, so that it's like anti-Coriolis, so Santa never gets lost. There you go.
Actually, I could slay any Santa argument.
Right, before the dreadful puns get started, right?
Now I'm seeing a reindeer with...
So if we're talking about Earth curve and there's no drop for an aeroplane, airplanes are having to angle up in order to traverse the plane that we dwell atop, would Santa have to drop around his fantasy space ball? You tell me, I don't know. Does drop only work for Santa, or would planes also have to experience this fantasy drop if the Earth was curving?
I think reindeer and other animals have a better innate sense of nature and the natural environment, so they just go with the Earth turn the best way they can.
Oh, what you're saying is reindeers know it's flat?
Yeah, they have a better sense of it.
Yeah, reindeers know it's flat.
So in other words, they have a better presence
Or
of
is that a reindeer fallacy?
I don't know, you're not using it as a proof, right? You're just saying animals know what's what, and the Earth is obviously and observably flat, therefore reindeers know it's flat. It's not a logical fallacy. Okay, they can do it, we can do it. Christmas, you're allowed to beg the question for a flat Earth.
I think that if the Earth were spinning, that nesting for a lot of birds would be extremely difficult, because they'd have to fly around the entire Earth just to get back at their previous ground.
We can get onto bird thumping natural experiments when we get to the viable hypotheses. Maybe we'll do that now. Any viable hypotheses from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics in their entire histories?
Note by Danny Faulkner, PhD astronomer.
So yeah, 2 or 3 weeks ago we had Daniel Faulkner using hillbilly blue balls, gas pressure without a container, by way of demonstration of gas pressure gradient inside a container, brought forth by gas pressure in a sealed container. Very embarrassing. Let's move on. No viable hypotheses then?
Nope.
It's very tough when you can't actually physically interact with that which you're conceptualizing.
Oh, again, according to one of Dr.
Viable
Daniel Faulkner's
hypotheses
minions.
from who?
According to what one of Dr. Daniel Faulkner's minions in reply to Sleeping Warrior, who's unfortunately not here right now, you don't need to vary the independent variable to offer scientific empiricism.
Yep, you just need to delete the whole thread.
You just need to ignore 10
Because
citations.
why, of course, would you need to vary the variable?
If you're asserting pseudoscience as your validity for a sphere Earth belief, then you need to decry actual science because you're really punting pseudoscience and just calling it science. So you need to make your weasel statements that make it not necessary to actually offer any empiricism when you make your just so story up, and then call it science, because science conjures the illusion of empiricism. So that's why. Perfectly reasonable as I clonk my Christmas tree. Ching ching. Any signs of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety, as Ranty is here?
Negative.
Absolutely not.
And you know that there is no axis.
Yep. Earth's definitely stationary.
Not
Yeah,
from
well,
pole to pole.
You need to find the ball, then you need to find the axis of the ball, and then you need to prove that the ball is spinning, and then you need to prove the ball is spinning on this said axis. I don't know. It's a lot of things we're gonna need before we get that axial rotation. So
Right, start with the
I don't know.
top of your
Maybe
list then,
Santa.
Chocolate. Let's start with the top of your list. Any evidence of the R value? Earth radius.
None.
No. That would be an assumption based off the standard model.
Yeah, shout out to
So not science then.
pseudo Mick Westian 2 space. God, someone's got to
How about
retract
the
it.
radius of the realm?
Shout out retracted.
God, keep me hanging there.
I was waiting for you.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
We don't know what it is.
What's the sun?
Very good question. Any evidence of the distance to the sun? Any evidence of its distance? Who cares what it is? We don't know. We're not making a claim.
Yeah. What is the sun? What is it?
I don't know. I don't need to tell you. I'm not making a claim of its distance, but there is one out there prevalent. I'm not making
It's
it.
light.
The
Pretty sure
sun.
it's light.
Praise Helios. The light in the sky they claim we bow towards and rotate around.
Oh, and don't forget it's supposedly much bigger than all of us. Don't forget that part.
Hail Helios. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating
And apparently it's
molten...
going to explode someday, so we should all be afraid of it.
Any more for any more? Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No.
They never got even deep enough to where theoretically the molten iron core should be starting in order to prove their concept.
You know what would be the best Christmas present ever? Scientific evidence of gravity.
Oh.
I can give you
Scientific evidence of what?
Gravity.
I can give you proof that gravity has days off.
Days off?
Yeah.
What, when no one reifies the concept, you mean? Or are you talking the way it's reified in actuality by observation, it's taking a day off? Or can't be applied?
Yeah, I mean, if you consider that water is being affected by gravity always in their model, it has a shape and a distance that you can work out, calculate 7.98 inches per mile squared, and all water should conform to that formula, which means that you should always get at least a certain amount of blockage when you're looking at things in the distance. So when you see complete shore to shore over a very long distance, it would appear that gravity's had its day off.
I just had an idea, or I thought about something. Even ballers will agree that, isn't it? Don't they agree that things in motion will remain in motion unless acted upon? But isn't it also true that things at rest will remain at rest until acted on by a force? So isn't picking something up and dropping it putting a force on something?
Yeah, that would be taking something out of equilibrium, forcing it into disequilibrium, and then letting it return to equilibrium and going, ha ha ha! The bit where it returns, let's ignore everything else, is going to be called
doesn't that
gravity.
go against the very thing that they agree with?
You kind of cut them off.
Oh, sorry. No, I was just saying, doesn't that go against the very thing that they do actually agree with, Newton's laws or whatever you want to call them?
Agree with?
They're not right.
They don't even know which it is.
No, I appreciate that, but I'm just saying, if they're going to say, "Oh yeah, well, no, Newton's, all of this stuff," but then wouldn't they things at rest are going to remain there until you do something to it? Don't they inherently get that?
No, they don't get it. They like to ignore the bit where you pick up the microphone.
Yeah, because they.
Well, I think that they do get the concepts. They just ignore the consequences of those concepts. That's really the overarching.
No, they ignore the cause because they don't have a cause, so they have to assert. Oh, the cause is a force. That's why. That's what dropped the mic after I let it go, forgetting completely you picked up the fucking mic. Like it's like what? It's the
I'd like
simple
to hear
doublespeak,
more.
man. You know, they
I'd
forget
like
how
to
many
hear
times
Ranty's-
have Glovers come on here? We asked them. Sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
No, I want to hear Ranty's view of gravity at rest.
I can show you water at rest and the effect that that has on observations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're on screen.
Okay, so as it's Christmas, I think we should do a Christmas special presentation. What do you think, Nate?
Looking good so far. 3 big triangles.
Okie dokie. Right. So last year, Red Pill Philosophy put a video out. I could use my own stuff, but for just simplicity, it's a better observation. I have to say, it's a beautiful observation. So he goes to the same spot every single time, and this is his exact location, right here on Black Point in Miami. So I'm going to put a line in and show you a distance, how far it is to a particular bridge that is seen in the footage. So we're going to look across all this water. This is all water. This is Biscayne Bay, and this is water. Now, this is the bridge that we're going to be looking at. It's right here, and essentially it is 17 miles away. Can you see 17 miles away? There we go. And it's the Rickenbacker Causeway, and the actual bridge, the name of the bridge, let me bring it up. The actual name of the bridge is the William M. Powell Bridge. Here's some images of it. Anybody can check that out. If we go to the Rickenbacker Causeway, the actual bridge that goes across that rises to a height of 76.1 feet above Biscayne Bay. Right, so that's its height above actual water. Now then, going back to the observation, which will be from this observation here, you can check his channel out. It's RPP-P1000. So that's Red Pill Philosophy, obviously, -P1000. He's had very few views in actual fact, but this is the raw and uncut footage of it. And in a moment, I'm going to play the video where we actually see the bridge. But from the distances involved, what should we consider when we think about this on an Earth curve calculator? So his tripod was set to 6 feet above actual sea level. You actually see him in the video as well. He poses right next to it. The distance was 17 miles to the bridge. So including refraction, which these globe heads always have to come back to, 76R, there would be 108 feet of hidden. You wouldn't see anything 108 feet. Excluding refraction would be 130 feet. Now, bearing in mind that the William M. Powell Bridge is only 76 feet above Biscayne Bay, that would seem to say that all of that bridge should be hidden to Earth curve if we believe that Earth is a sphere. Now, let's see what actually happens. So let's go to Google Earth and let's scroll right out, and just to prove that point, when we scroll out and we go out, right, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. You see this big ball here, big ball, right? All this area of water, all this is water. Now it's all being pulled to the center of the sphere Earth, apparently, and it's conforming to 7.98 inches per mile squared. So it has to curve. It can't be flat. It has to be curved. Otherwise, gravity is not acting on it in a spherical shape. It wouldn't happen. It has to curve. So there has to be that hidden when we consider that we're looking across Biscayne Bay. So let's go to the footage. Let's just see what we actually see. So as you can see, for instance, this buoy here that's floating on the water, you can see how calm this day is. There is almost no interaction, waves, nothing going on with this water. Now, here is the bridge. Here's the end of the bridge. There's the car lights going over this bridge. Now, I'm just going to put it on, say, half speed or 3/4 speed, actually. And what you're going to see is you're going to see these cars going over the Biscayne Bay. This is over Biscayne Bay. This is the bridge. This is the bridge that all should be hidden to Earth curve. You shouldn't see this in the globe model. Let me just pause it there. So these are the car headlights. They come right down. They go right down over here. And I've triangulated the distance because we do actually see the headlights on that road to no more than 6 feet above actual sea level. We're seeing down to 6 feet. Look at this. This is absolutely crystal clear, perfect example. When the conditions are right and we have very calm water, you can see an incredible distance. I've said it before. Look at this. Look at this. Now, just to ram this point home, I've actually just done a little diagram here. And obviously, all these cars are stacked up. I think I've done them at 6 feet in height to just give you an idea. So this is where Earth curve should be, if we believe in the Earth sphere model. But when you saw those cars going over the bridge and down the other side like that, and along the roadside over this side, this is what we were seeing down to. This is a 17-mile observation that defies the globe model, defies it. Gravity had to have been having a day off on this particular day. Either that, or gravity is bunkum and we don't live on a sphere and we just saw a very long way on a very calm day with good visibility. I'll let you make your own minds up, but I think I know where this is going, because if you believe in the globe, you have to say that this is a mirage. But is it a mirage when you look at the observation and you see the car lights and you follow and you can track the cars? You can track the cars going over the bridge. You can see them going up, going down. This is a mirage in the globe model, what you're seeing. It's not just a building. This is moving cars that you're seeing. It all should be hidden. What do you think, people?
Yeah, we see it because it's there. To assert that it's a slightly looming non-standard refraction hyena holographic projection of cars travelling beyond the reified edge of an Earth curve based on a begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking curve calculator is absolutely absurd when you can simply believe the evidence of your own eyes. There it is. No justification required if you're a flat earther. We see it because it's there.
Flat water.
But we've been conditioned not to trust our own senses.
Yeah. Don't believe the evidence of your own eyes. It's not really there. It's actually a hologram. It's actually a mirage. It's not really there. Yeah, we see it. We've got eyes.
Beautiful summary.
One of the first times I listened to this show, I think it was like almost probably 95% was here arguing in Sleeping Warrior. And I just listened to the mental gymnastics that they were doing to try to explain why this, I think it was the lighthouse, was looming up, or refraction and all this shit. And then Nathan just said, but it's there. We just see it because it's there. And to me, it made more sense than any of the gibberish that I had heard for the previous 50 minutes or so, listening to these ballers try to explain why we see it and why it looks the way it does. And it's just like, dude, it's there. It's simple as that. So
And then
all
on
this
top of that,
gymnastics,
explain how
the
flat
mental.
earthers make up all these things and bend over backwards to assert their nonsense beliefs.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's literal mental gymnastics they got to do. And then they feel like, oh, you guys are just so simple. Well, maybe the answer is simple. Maybe you're overcomplicating it for yourselves. Instead of just saying, look, I see the lighthouse because it's there. No.
On this day,
It's, if I may,
Yeah, go ahead.
it's not even gymnastics. It's not even gymnastics in my opinion, because gymnastics implies some type of grace, some elegance. But all I get is, oh, you don't understand, and at-home attacks, like how stupid I am from people that never met me over the internet and we've never talked before, So that's the level we're dealing with, I'm afraid. Over.
I feel sorry for them. I really, there's a part of me that it's not
All
funny
of
at
a
a certain
sudden,
point. I feel
they're
bad for
qualified.
people who are so duped.
There's still one last housekeeping question.
Okay.
Any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon for all the fundamentalist religious zealots who believe the sky is a vacuum without the gas we breathe dispersing into it?
No, you can't. And I did actually see a comment from, who's that guy that did that? Is it Billy Blue Balls or something, or Blue Marble or something? Science, whatever it was.
Hillbilly Blue Balls, the redneck retard. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the. So he said to Sleeping Warrior, he made a comment on my channel from his presentation that he did, and he's basically said to Sleeping Warrior, until you can prove that open pipes are not a container, I'm not going to say sorry for the video. So what retard thinks that piping, okay, even if you've got open ends at each end, it's still not a container? Of course it's a container.
Yeah. Without the container, there can be no pressure. Quote, Conspiracy Cats, 2019. Just in case people are watching this in 2020.
If you get
hello,
a straw,
all you got to do is go outside. It's obvious.
I totally agree. All you've got to do is go outside and you will experience gas pressure. And as Conspiracy Cat says, without the container, there can be no pressure.
if you get a hose pipe, Nathan, you've got water inside the hose pipe, and you disconnect it, and then you put it in your car boot, and you drive off somewhere else, and you get it back out again, and then you shake it, and you shake it. What will happen is the water that was locked inside of the container will come out and empty out at the other end, obviously at the place that you've taken it to. So you've transported it. You've transported it in a container. It might have open ends, but it is still contained inside the piping.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue, obviously, that entropy will eventually take hold. I mean, eventually the water will dissipate, it'll evaporate, and it's not going to stay in there for all eternity. But by the same token, you're absolutely correct under your parameters. So if I've got a pipe and I'm washing my car and it's connected at both ends, and I seal it and turn off the tap, and then unplug the nozzle attachment so there's just a hole where I was spraying, and then pull it off the tap so there's just a hole where it had water going in, and then I coil it up, it doesn't suddenly magically stop containing the water that was in it. I mean, obviously I can shake it all out and get all the water out so it doesn't go all over the car, but if I just coil up that open-ended container, it's just a leaky container. It's going to leak all over the car, but when I get to the other end, there's a very high probability that there will still be some water contained in the pipe. In the same way, you could also pump butane into a 30-foot long tube, and it would contain it. I mean, obviously it's going to leak out eventually. Entropy will still take hold. Eventually the gas will fill the available volume and leak out the pipe. In the same way, entropy will take hold of the pipe, given enough time. And given enough time, it'll take hold of the house behind the pipe and the pavement that it stood on. It's amazing. Entropy, directly proportional to time. But nonetheless, a pipe would still, as you rightly correctly identify, Ranty Flat Earth, is definitely a container.
Sleeping Warrior.
The fact that we're in the situation of having to define what a container is should be very telling to people.
Oh yeah, it's pathetic.
We got into a point where they're basically arguing that every coffee cup, swimming pool, any type of open container is not a container. This is pathetic.
Ho, ho, ho.
Ho ho ho! Shout
And
out
I
to
want to
Billy
pretend that gases
Blue Balls, the
behave like
redneck
liquid.
retard.
A very warm and
Merry
happy Christmas.
Christmas.
Hold on 1 second, guys. Warm and happy Christmas to you, Sleeping Warrior.
Merry Christmas, boys and girls. Did you all get coal for Christmas or did you get presents?
I got coal. Well,
I got
technically
coal.
not. I got a Lego Star Wars. Oh, the
I
irony.
got coal.
I got drunk.
You got drunk.
You don't have to make a spaceship out of it. It might be good for some other pieces, you know. It doesn't have to be a Narnia ship.
Are we still on the main show or am I in the after show?
This is the Christmas special.
Is it the main show or the after show?
There is no main or after. This isn't going to be going out live, so it's pre-recorded. So, you know, a couple of days, Christmas will come and we'll pretend for the rest of the show, despite you ruining the illusion that it's not actually Christmas today. But thank you for that.
Merry Christmas to all the ball and trolls that pollute my daily.
Sleepy Warrior. Boo hoo hoo.
You can think of it as it's Christmas.
It is Christmas because this is being broadcast on Christmas, so this is Christmas.
That's right.
It's an inferior show.
Do you know what? We should have done it like in the style of NASA, where we actually dress up as Santa Claus and elves and all that kind of stuff, and really act and present as though it actually is Christmas Day, and we could try and interact with chat that isn't really there, and somebody can fall off the wires in the background and stuff like that.
But look, you're not following me. It is Christmas Day.
Yes, I'm having dinner with my dad right now.
The
That's why I
Armin's
said
got
ho
it.
ho ho. I knew
Ho,
it was
ho,
Christmas
ho.
Day
I opened a present at the beginning of this. Lego.
to get into the festive spirit.
Yeah. Got my tree up, looking beautiful. Excellent stuff. You missed all the housekeeping questions. We've discussed hillbilly blue balls. We've discussed... It's all been about you, actually, Anthony. It's all been about Dr. Daniel Faulkner and hillbilly blue balls, summarising the events of the last month or so.
So Chocolate's right when he's saying that the ballers won't accept that a swimming pool or a cup that you have your coffee in isn't a container, because if it's got gas in it, it needs to be a sealed container. But any other thing, like if you put like coins in it, that's okay, that's a container. But when it comes to gas, it's got to be a sealed container with pressure in it.
No.
And then they attribute that claim to us because we've said that the sealing of the container stops the effects of entropy. For some reason, they think that that's the claim. And it's like, how many times have I told you? You need the container for the pressure, but to stop the effects of the entropy, you need the sealing part of it. And we're saying you need a container for the gas pressure, as he demonstrates, and he doesn't like admitting it. He won't admit it, but he looks like an absolute idiot for not doing. He's an idiot.
So that's Hillbilly Blue Balls, the redneck retard, who's demonstrated gas pressure gradients inside a 30-foot long pipe with the title Gas Pressure Without a Container, and then argued justified it, if you will, by saying it's not a sealed... What's that? Sealed what? Container? So it's definitely not a demonstration of gas pressure without a container. But further to that, and this will be about a month ago for anybody who's watching this on Christmas Day, we had a Dr. Daniel Faulkner, who is the author of Falling Flat, who made his presence known at the recent American conference for Flat Earth, essentially said he could refute all Flat Earth claims, and that the idiots who say they can't refute all Flat Earth claims simply get their information from the idiot internet. So it was put to him by Nathan Thompson at the conference, how can you have gas pressure without a container? And his rationale was to go out and search the internet and discover, guess who? Hillbilly Blue Balls, the redneck retard, with his demonstration of gas pressure gradients in a 30-foot pipe, labelled incorrectly gas pressure without a container? No, gas pressure in a leaky container. Nevertheless, this PhD astronomer cited Hillbilly Blueballs, the redneck retard, and then stood behind his trolls who would declare things like, you don't need to vary a variable to have empirical scientific evidence. Yeah, and then 10 citations followed, demolishing any claims that scientific validity isn't acquired by varying that which you assume causes an effect you've observed at step 1 of the method. But then Anthony got removed from the group because, of course, he was asking for scientific validity for the assertions made by heliocentric priests, in this instance, Dr. Daniel Faulkner. So that's a reasonable summary of the events that took place. Most importantly was the Dr. Daniel Faulkner part, not the Hillbilly Blueballs part, but great that a doctor has cited somebody by having a quick internet search and coming across a complete moron and citing him to Anthony, whilst obviously declaring that Anthony doesn't understand. When in reality, Dr. Daniel Faulkner demonstrated himself quite admirably as the pseudo-scientist he is, who references redneck retards who don't understand what a container is. That was a good fun time. Happy Christmas, everyone.
He's now, because I've been removed out of that group, he's now blocked me on Facebook, so I can't actually speak to him directly at all now unless I run across him in some other thread somewhere. I wasn't rude or curt with him. I was saying, look, you've made claims and we can prove that you're wrong. Why are you running? Let's have this out. Let's have a conversation. Let's see if you can demonstrate your claims with science. And I got blocked on him as well.
Yeah, for the Fundy Globeheads, it's reached the point in our lives where it is acceptable to say the bending of a conceptual medium will give rise to a not actual force, but we'll consider it a force, called gravity. There is no scientific validity to this assertion. It's a just-so story conjured in the mind of Einstein. But that being said, if you ask me to validate this nonsense scientifically, when I point out that plenty of claim to be scientists say that it's not a force, but they also don't contradict themselves when they say it's not a force. No. That's the assertions of Dr. Daniel Faulkner in this thread. Now, all of that complete doublespeak nonsense is apparently perfectly acceptable. Modern world says, yeah, gravity's not a force. You can think of it as a force, even though it's a concept and it's not actual. It's not actually going to manifest itself in reality because it's a concept. That's all acceptable nonsense. But when you say, excuse me, purveyor of the religious worldview that we are on a spinning sphere flying through a vacuum, how can we have the gas we breathe if Earth's claimed to be an open system? How can we have gas pressure without a container? And then you get told, you're a moron, you don't understand, you're not in authority, and ultimately, if you ask them to empirically validate their claim, you will be banned and removed from any conversation with this priest. That's pretty much it. That's where we're at now, actually, in reality. Although this is Christmas Day for you, that's where we're at now when this is being filmed.
Well, this is for Hillbilly Blueballs, or whatever he's called. I just typed into Google, what is a bucket? And can you guess what they said, Nathan? A roughly cylindrical open container.
No.
Container. And let's just go to Wikipedia, which it says a bucket is typically a watertight, vertical cylinder or truncated cone or square with an open top and a flat bottom. A bucket is usually an open top container. Hello.
Yeah, we're dealing with morons that don't understand what a container is. You ask them to show gas pressure without a container, and they'll present a sealed and an open container and go, victory is mine! Gas pressure without a container! And you go, hello? Are you literally retarded? That's not gas pressure without a container. That's gas pressure in a sealed container being transferred into gas pressure in a leaky container. Like your hosepipe example, Ranty.
It's just retarded. So stupid.
I mean, if the freaking pipe didn't contain the butane, how would he have been able to take a pressure reading in the first place?
Yeah, they took it out.
What kind of moron are we? I'm sorry, man.
They took it out.
We're dealing with grown-ups who will tell me that my coffee cup is not a container. Like, this is out of control. Sorry.
No, you're absolutely right.
Who's the more fool? The fool or the fool who presents Hillbilly Blueball's YouTube video?
So a shoe is not a container, but it is a phenomena.
Yeah.
It might be an
Hmm.
accelerating shoe.
Basically,
You have to
by these
check.
standards.
Okay, so now you've nominated yourself to explain why you would reference a shoe as a phenomena but not a container. Despite the fact that shoe could absolutely be a container, you're not wrong.
It contains your feet.
No, but I said it's supposedly not a container. Of course, it's a container. You can pour
but-
water in it. It'll stay in there for a while.
No, I just said that, but you also juxtapose that with it being a phenomena. Why would you say such nonsense? How could a shoe be a phenomena? Who would say such nonsense?
Yeah, there's this odd person keeps on coming back. He or she thinks she's a she, and she just keeps on doing that and trying to forward the most silly double-speak latent arguments anybody has ever heard, and declaring shoe to be a phenomena within an experiment to prove gravity, wasn't it? Yeah, she actually attempted that several times. She still doubles down on it to this day, I think.
Well, that's only because there's not a neutral platform. It would all make sense if it was on some neutral platform.
Apparently, a neutral platform is only needed after your argument's been destroyed for about 45 minutes. Then it's, but why don't you debate me with a moderator? Really? Because we didn't just debate for 40 minutes.
That's just the most recent
we didn't do that.
nonsense. All the other nonsense, too.
Speaking of nonsense, so who have we got to share their pain with us then in Discord server? Come on, fundies, share your pain.
John, go get your glasses.
Runs with Scissors. We've never heard from you before. How you doing, Runs with Scissors? Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
That's
Merry
Francis.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Yeah, we do know who you are. Sorry.
No problem.
T Cozy? Can you hear us, T Cozy? Share your pain.
I think T. Cozy was Babs.
We missed explaining that there are such things as platform shoes, however.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, talking
Can you hear
about
me?
silly claims.
Yeah,
By the
hey
way,
Babs.
if I
Hey Babs.
Are they accelerating platform shoes?
Right.
It depends if you're running or not.
Okay, so that's an
Hey,
assertion
Testman, I have a quick question for you.
Go ahead.
So no, I love the term "the 10th man," and I've thought about that. And so one of the reasons I kept listening to this show is because of the idea that you're the 10th man. And when people ask you what does the 10th man mean, what's your most concise kind of version of it? Because I think anyone here talking about this truth aspect of what's going on, these truthers, we're all kind of the 10th man in most situations. How do you describe that?
Well, I got it from the movie World War Z. And the 10th man
So
was
did
going
I.
to disagree with if nine people on a 10-man board or group agreed on something, it was the duty of the 10th man to disagree no matter what, even if the idea made sense. To cause conversation, to make sure, because you don't want everyone agreeing on something without discussion, is the way I see it.
I like
Perfect.
that.
Yeah, that's where I got it too. That's exactly what I tell people from that movie.
I like that. And I do
It
remember
was so fitting when I heard it.
Okay, I never knew about that. I just thought he was the 10th man because there fit 10 people on the Google panel, and he was the 10th man.
That's only my numerical value.
Right, guys, I've got to disappear. I've got to go and baste the turkey.
Okie dokie, thank you. Happy Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody. See you later.
Laters.
Merry Christmas, Ranty.
It's Christmas in Europe, Nathan?
Yeah, this is the Christmas show. Don't spoil the magic.
Oh, sorry.
Happy Christmas to you.
You should rebroadcast.
Christmas is being loomed up from Europe.
Being loomed up from beyond a month from now.
Now-
Exactly.
Any balls jingling around Christmas time?
Post jingling. What's that code for?
Any globheads want to come and put their narrative?
Yeah. Share your pain, fundies. Been asking.
Jingle balls, jingle balls.
Never a straight answer. Can you hear us?
If they don't respond, since Anthony's on here and he's hopefully listening, I'd like to have a conversation about relative density.
I'm here. I'm listening.
The one brought this up yesterday. I don't know if you can see my screen. Liquefaction demonstrated.
Liquefaction.
Yeah, liquefaction. Yeah, sorry.
Where you push air through the sand and it makes it into a liquid.
Yeah, well, if you watch this video, I'm not going to play it for Nathan's sake, but he puts some kind of ball in here, and then he puts a weight on it, and then he shakes it, and the weight sinks, but the ball rises up out of the sand as he shakes it. See that?
Yeah, I know why
He
that
shakes
happens.
it.
Yeah, I know why that happens too. Same thing would happen with your muesli. So when you buy your muesli at the supermarket and you open it, what do you get? Well, you get the big chunky hazelnuts and raisins at the top, and you get the fine dusty stuff at the bottom. And that's because as it's been transported, it's been vibrated, shook, and obviously in the same way as you'd get in general soil, the things that are nice wide gaps because they're big chunky particles are going to let the thinner stuff through and filter to the bottom, so you end up with all the chunky stuff at the top. In this example, you've got a golf ball vibrated its way up to the top, and yeah, the same principle applies.
Right, exactly. So you got
And relative density. Also.
What's that?
And relative density also.
Right, that's what it is. I was bringing this up, but I was thinking about after the one said this, and obviously the conversation over the gas pressure issue. We all know what this is. We've all seen this, and I think even QE's posted this. And there's it's known that all molecules are constantly in motion. So even the solid, which is here to the right, those molecules, even though they're not, you don't look like they're moving, they're still moving, but the bonds are so strong that they can't be separated. Well, once the bonds get weaker and weaker, and obviously you go to a liquid, and then obviously you go to a gas, which is to the left. Well, I was thinking about the periodic table, and this I like this because it shows you how the different metals or different substances are. Well, I was thinking about Anthony's experiment too. I'll go back up here where this is a little easier to see. Water has, what was it, H2O? So you got O and then H. So they're really, if you look at the molecular number of it, O or oxygen is 8, and hydrogen is 1. So it's the particles they're not as compact, or there's not enough of them there, so to speak, and the bonds are probably not. The bonds are weaker, so to speak. And then you got the salt, which is, I think is it calcium, sodium chloride? I think Ci is
sodium
chloride, and then I forget where sodium is. Is it Na?
Yeah,
I think it's
Na
Na.
sodium.
So you got sodium is 11, and chloride is what, 17? Right there, just the the compact nature of the atom itself, right? Well, that increases the density just from the molecular structure of the particles. But I think it's also a factor in this is the bonds. I think that's why liquefaction is also crucial, because if you look at the gases, because the bonds, and since all molecules have weight to them, or not weight but motion to them, that's why these tend to stay. The gases tend to stay in the microscopic gas state all the time, or the state of gas motion all the time because of the bonds. So my thought could be the aspect of what the cause of relative density is, the motion of the particles and how tightly packed they are, and also their atomic structure. Also have a factor in the relative density of the materials. Understand what I'm saying? And why relative density is the factor in this,
Right.
not gravity.
And maneuverability is important for how the relative density displacement will express itself.
Right. Well, if you look at this chart, that's why I brought this chart up right here originally. Like if you move towards the right of the periodic table, they become more gaseous. If you move to the left, to the bottom, they become more solids and more dense, so to speak. And obviously, there's some the way the bonds interact. Like this UUO is a synthetic element. It has a higher density, but I guess the way the bonds work on the structure of the molecule, it tends to be more of a gas than it does a solid. So just some thought. Any comments? I don't know if the one's probably more into this or.
Yeah, you're demonstrating the atomic weights. So basically, the more heavy the atomic weights are, that's the reason why we're getting the way that they're displacing. If the materials or the matter are able to move, they will find their own equilibrium. That liquefaction is really interesting because there's some examples of guys sat in hot tubs that are filled with sand, and they start blowing air through them, and it acts like water. So it's like that, but on a bigger scale, and he's not shaking it; he's just blowing air through it. But if you see one of them, that's even more bizarre.
Yeah. Well, I've been thinking about this. I mean, I'm not making any claims as of yet, but I think this could account for relative density.
Just for my own clarity, is it liquefaction or liquefaction?
Liquefaction. I'm sorry.
You guys just said both.
Oh, so I'm trying liquefaction. Sorry, liquefaction.
All right. Thank you.
Now, didn't you say yesterday though that a solid can actually become, even though this is more like a little bit of water and sand in it, but can a metal also be liquefied if it's vibrated enough?
No. What the one said yesterday, which was news to me, was that if you take well, maybe you can explain it yourself. The one you can explain your version of liquefaction.
Well, liquefaction is referred to in manufacturing as when they compress gases to make them into liquids. So they call that process in manufacturing liquefaction. And the two ways that you can produce, for example, nitrogen is by cooling down air or compressing it until it becomes liquid.
Fluid.
So it could go.
Fluid.
It goes both.
Fluid, not liquid.
Yeah, fluid.
Yeah, but solids can act like liquids as well, though.
Don't confuse things. Hold on, Sleeping Warrior. Let's just give that clarity. So when you compress a gas to the point where there's no space between it, then it will behave like a liquid. Sorry, I'll correct that. Like a fluid. Now, when it's behaving like a fluid, it's not a fluid because then it would have intermolecular bonds. Now, it doesn't have intermolecular bonds. There's just no space between the gas anymore. So it exhibits liquid-like behavior, and that's where you get the term fluid. So it's not bonded, it's not a liquid, but it's going to exhibit liquid-like behavior because it's been compressed to the point where it's essentially squashed so tightly that it can't move and would behave as though it was bonded as per a liquid. It isn't, it's still a gas. Go ahead,
Exactly.
Anthony. Hold on.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you. Go ahead, Anthony. Sorry to cut you off.
I've seen numerous videos online where, like boy racers get their cars and they hook them up with like car stereos and they put loads of bass subwoofer basses in there and they crank it right up, and like the windows that are like, glass, toughened glass, and the door frames that house the glass, they ripple like water when he turns it really high. I'm just going to see if I can find it. I was watching it and I was like, that is incredible.
I've seen that.
It's incredible.
Yep.
I'll see if I can find it, and I'll present it if I can find it. It's just turning the volume up really loud and creating like really powerful waves, and it makes the water. It makes the
talking about
metal bend like water.
You're talking about the car, where the guy had the system in the car, and he had it. The windows and the door were literally they looked like liquid.
Yeah,
that's what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I just saw that the other day. I was like, wow, that's insane.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, man, that's crazy.
Let me know if you do want to present it. Just don't actually play it. Just scrub through it.
Well, you'll need to see a couple of seconds of it because you can see the water the doors like rippling. It's bizarre to look at because they're obviously solid metal, like a couple of mil thick. Like they're not going to act like water, but they're just rolling around like water. It's bizarre.
It's just vibrating.
Well,
Right, it's resonance.
Resonance, yeah.
Well, while he's looking that up, and I was going to make just a quick observation about density. Like aluminum, I watched a little small video. I'm not going to play it, but I watched it. It's kind of interesting. You got aluminum is typically a solid. You got copper, which is also a solid, or metals or whatever. You can have the same amount of it, but one's more dense than the other. But if you notice why it's more dense, it's the molecular number. Like I think aluminum is 13, and I think copper is like 20. If I'm reading that right. So right there's an aspect. What's that?
29.
29. Okay, I'm looking on my TV and I'm a little bit away, so I can't hardly see it.
20 is all the way to the left.
Okay. I can't remember. It doesn't matter, but I think you get my point. So they're both solids, but it's the atomic number is what's causing the density of it, and also I think the bonds have a part to play. More I've thought about this. I think the relative density it becomes more of a chemistry issue than it has anything to do with gravity. So the more I've thought about it, the more every time we look at this, I keep thinking it's chemistry, how the molecules are interacting with each other more than anything else.
Well, the molecular weight, as it were, that designation definitely has something to do with the relative density. But again, things like maneuverability, does it dissolve? How does it respond in conjunction with other substances? That also, can do all kinds of strange extra effects. Suddenly, things rearrange themselves so they become less dense or more dense than they normally are. So,
well, right. Well, it's like when I did some research too, when I was looking at the atmosphere, like water makes the air lighter. Like the more water you remove from the atmosphere, the air becomes heavier. They call it heavy air, and it's because the molecular structure of the water, because its atomic number is smaller than if you have just more of oxygen or carbon monoxide or nitrogen in the system. So just interesting relative density. Of course, this might be relevant to Adam since he's in the chemistry.
Adam,
Hey.
Merry Christmas, Adam.
Periodic table I can see there.
Merry Christmas, Adam Meakin.
Oh, is it Christmas Day today? Guys, that's the reason I joined in. So happy Christmas, Tiny Tim, to you and yours. And yeah, much love to everyone. If it's going out Christmas Day, keep your fat, guys. And yeah, let's look forward to another flat year for 2020. So yeah, happy Christmas, everyone.
And with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who tuned in to this Christmas Day special on the Nathan Oakley 1980 channel for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Stay tuned if you're watching on the Nathan Oakley channel, as there will be an after show to follow. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all on the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!